So, looking at the massive stack of sources we're diving into today, from um, classic mid-century psychology papers to modern analyses of media consumption, there is this one recurring, honestly somewhat unsettling theme. You, the listener, are constantly being programmed by the people you watch.
Yeah, I mean, it is basically the ultimate evolutionary shortcut.
Hmm.
Like when you think about traditional learning, it's usually rooted in direct experience,
Yeah.
action and consequence.
Right. Like the classic hot stove scenario,
Yeah,
you touch a hot stove, you get burned, and your brain logs this permanent note that says, never doing that again. But looking through this research on social learning theory, or SLT, it is clear we do not actually have to touch every stove ourselves.
exactly. You can just watch someone else touch it.
Yeah, see them scream and
Yeah,
make the exact same mental note without actually taking the damage yourself.
precisely. And the literature breaks down this mechanism into, well, what they call modeling and imitation. A model is really just the person you're observing.
Whether that's in real life or on a screen, right?
Yeah, it could be a live model, like a parent in your kitchen, or a symbolic model, like a character on TV. When you watch them, your brain is quietly mapping their behaviors.
But, I mean, I'm assuming there's some kind of strict filter here, right? Because if I see a random guy on the subway screaming at a wall and someone hands him a $20 bill, I am not going to start imitating him just because he got rewarded. But if my boss does something unconventional and gets a big bonus, I might, take notes.
Right, that is a really crucial distinction. What you are describing is the difference between simple mimicry and identification. We don't just blindly absorb every single behavior around us.
So we're picky.
Very. We adopt behaviors when we actively want to be associated with the model. You're far more likely to identify with someone if they're similar to you, say the same gender, or if they're attractive and hold high status in your environment.
Oh, and the reward piece plays into that too, right? In the sources, they call it vicarious reinforcement. We are watching the consequences of their actions, and if that high-status person gets rewarded, it effectively triggers our own mental reward system.
Exactly. But it is not an automatic response.
Mm.
There is this cognitive bridge between watching that high-status person and actually doing what they did. The theory outlines 4 mediational processes that have to occur. Think of a viral dance routine on social media.
Oh, right. This is like a mental copy-paste checklist. First, you have to actually pay attention to the footwork. Then you need the retention to hold that sequence in your memory.
Right, then comes reproduction. Like, do you actually possess the physical coordination to execute those moves?
Mm-hmm.
And finally, motivation.
Even if you can do it, do you genuinely want to perform it in public?
Exactly.
Which usually for me is a hard no. But, that checklist changes how I view the whole concept of behavioral programming. It makes this way less rigid than old school strict behaviorism, which basically argued we're just meat robots reacting to stimuli.
Yeah, behaviorism can be very reductionist.
Right, but this introduces what the papers call soft determinism. The environment is absolutely influencing you, but because of that internal copy-paste checklist, you still have agency. You have a choice.
And that is the pivotal insight of social learning theory. But to capture that exact filtering process in real time, researchers needed to observe it under controlled conditions. Which brings us to Albert Bandura's infamous Bobo doll experiment from our research stack.
Oh man, the setup for this is wild. They took children and had them observe adult models interacting with this large inflatable Bobo clown doll. Some adults aggressively beat the doll, and others ignored it.
Yeah, and the data showed the kids who witnessed the violence didn't just get, generally cranky.
No, they copied the exact right hooks and specific aggressive phrases the adults used, and they leaned heavily toward imitating adults of their own gender. But reading through the methodology, they purposefully exposed toddlers to unprovoked aggression just to see what would happen. That feels like a massive red flag that would never pass an ethics board today.
It wouldn't. The ethical constraints of modern psychology make this study incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to replicate. But beyond the methodology raising eyebrows, it suffers from a major structural flaw known as demand characteristics.
Meaning the environment itself kind of tipped the kids off to what they were supposed to do?
Exactly. You put a child in a room with an adult pummeling a toy, and then you leave the child alone with that exact same toy. The children likely assumed hitting the doll was just, well, the rules of the game.
Ah, so they were just playing along.
Right, that severely reduces the study's validity because they might not have been organically learning aggression so much as complying with an implicit script they thought the adults wanted them to follow.
So to pull all these threads together for you listening, Social learning theory acts as this perfect bridge between traditional behaviorism and modern cognitive psychology. Your behavior is undeniably shaped by observing and imitating the world around you, but it is always filtered through your own internal checklist.
Yeah, we are molded by our environment, but because of attention, retention, reproduction, and motivation, we aren't completely at the mercy of it.
But let's leave you with this to mull over today. If our brains are biologically wired to identify with and imitate high status, attractive symbolic models, well, how is the endless scroll of curated influencers subtly overriding our soft determinism? Are the choices you think you're making independently really yours, or are you just watching someone else touch a beautifully filtered hot stove and deciding to do the exact same thing?